right, good evening. Save the best for last. I'm just kidding. So there's a lot of written testimony that we brought to the committee today. I hope you will take the time to look at it. A lot of people worked really hard on written testimony. Obviously, not everyone's available tonight. We had some folks who are, have holiday, Passover, etc. So one person in particular I wanted to mention because it's super relevant is John Scuncio. John Scuncio is the former police chief of Hopkinton, and he was a Rhode Island State Trooper. And he gave me a call last week. He said, "I love what you're doing. I'm 110% behind you." So unfortunately, he wasn't able to be here today. I wish he had followed Chief Palmer's testimony. That would have been a nice comparison. But he has a totally different perspective. So I just want to put that in front of you that not all law enforcement sees it the way that some of them that we've heard from today. He believes that it's been a total failure. He thinks it supports organized crime. Again, you can read his testimony. I hope you will. The idea of a study commission, I think, is simply a delay tactic. And I would present this question to you. What will it accomplish? We've had these hearings for multiple years. I know many of you have seen us here year after year. That's what a study commission would be. A study commission would be people presenting testimony, people providing documents to you. So you have the data. You have the research in front of you. The question is, if we put together a study commission, how will it be different than what we've done tonight? How will it be different than what we've done for year after year? We have the data. We have lots and lots of data to look at. And I did want to just make a point here because I'm looking at some testimony from the opponents, and I've seen other written testimony. I just looked through it, and I noticed that there's no citations. There's no sources, and I'm not saying that means it's incorrect. I just mean that there's no way for us to go out and actually check it. Now, the testimony that I've submitted to you is very thorough. It's 6 pages responding to all the concerns that we hear frequently about driving, about youth use, and there are citations in there. You also have our recent report, the Now is the Time, the Regulate Rhode Island report. Every single claim in there is sourced. So there's a way to go back and see where the data came from. So really quickly, I just want to give a brief synopsis of what data there is to guide you on some of these vexing issues. Okay, so first of all, we hear a lot about driving. And the important thing to keep in mind when you see statistics about driving fatalities in Colorado and Washington is that their testing procedures before legalization were different than they were after legalization. After voters approved legalization, they said, "Oh, we need to be more strict. We need to measure this more." And so they cast a wider net. And so some of those statistics show an increase in the number of people that they find with marijuana in their system. There's a very simple analogy. If I go to the pond on Monday and I have a fishing pole and I catch a couple of fish, and then I go back on Tuesday with a net and I catch 10 fish, doesn't mean there's more fish in the pond. Just means that I've used a different tool and I've caught more fish that way. So I just hope you'll take a look at that, bear that in mind. The other thing that I want to point out about driving is that the bottom line is we have methods in place. You heard people testify about this. We have methods in place to prosecute people for impaired driving. If we don't legalize marijuana and tax it this year, we'll continue to have impaired drivers. That will continue to be a problem. If the state does wish to invest more into enforcing impaired driving laws, hiring drug recognition experts, you can do that with the funding that comes from taxing marijuana. So if we do nothing, we have no additional funding to invest in enforcing these laws. If we tax it, we do have funding that we can use for that. The second one I really want to focus on for just a second because it's come up so often, this idea from the opponents that the illegal market hasn't been eliminated in Colorado and Washington. If you listen to the way they phrase it, it's always about, well, it's not going to magically disappear. No one is saying that the illegal market is going to disappear overnight. No one's saying that it's going to be 100% eliminated. But it seems like everyone that testified here tonight agrees that the illegal market is a bad thing. So ask a simple question. What's their strategy for eliminating the black market? Do they have one? Has it ever worked? Have you heard any testimony tonight about how they're going to reduce the illicit market? No. But in Colorado, officials there estimate that now 70% of the demand, again, this is sourced in my testimony, 70% of the demand in Colorado is met by the legal market. That's a lot better than 0%. So it's not 100%. It's not completely eliminating the illegal market. It takes a little bit of time. But we all agree the black market is a bad thing. And so if we can reduce it even by 70%, think of the amazing public health and safety benefits that would come for that. Okay. I want to talk quickly about the youth data, because this is also a really important part here. So you all have before you a report that we put together, that Regulate Rhode Island put together. This is the data, that the most comprehensive data that we have on youth use. So up at the top is the Washington Healthy Youth Survey. It involved over 20,000 students that they surveyed. This is the Healthy Kids Colorado survey. This is the National Survey on Drug Use and Health. These are all the best data that we have on these questions, and you can see, if you look at them, they all show that use has either remained flat or in some cases it's gone down slightly. The Healthy Youth Survey in Washington shows among 10th graders and 8th graders a little bit of a steady decline since legalization. So again, when you hear claims like opponents will say, well, Colorado is ranked #1 in the country, that's based on one survey, and it's also true that they were ranked #1 before legalization. So the idea that legalization caused that needs to be questioned. And so I would just urge you to ask opponents for where their data comes from and take a look at where our data is coming from so you can compare it. And that's how we're going to get to the bottom of it. The last thing that I want to talk about is, let's see. Oh, the other common thing that comes up is the opioid issue. Okay, so again, I want to just show you the report. We have data from 2013 to 2015 comparing the rates of overdose deaths in Colorado and Washington to the national average. What you find is that from 2013 to 2015, the most recent years, we don't have data for 2016 yet, but those are the years immediately following legalization, the rate of overdose death in Colorado actually went down very slightly by 0.6%. In Washington, it did go up by about 9%, but nationally, it went up 18%. And then in states that don't have any type of medical marijuana or legal marijuana, Tennessee and West Virginia, for instance, it went through the roof. So the idea that marijuana is somehow contributing to the opioid problem really lacks compelling data. There really is nothing. And when you hear people talk about, here in Rhode Island, when they talk about addressing opioids, how often do they say marijuana? How often does that come up? Because Rebecca works on a lot of opioid issues. We hear a lot about it. I don't hear them saying marijuana is the main contributing factor, and that's because it's not. There's no data to back that up. Let me just close. It's been a long night. Let me end where Representative Slater began, because I think this is very important. If we have a choice before us, which is either regulation or prohibition, we don't have any other option. A study commission is not in the middle. It's not splitting the difference. It's saying, let's continue prohibition. And what I would submit to you, what you've heard multiple times, but I think is very crucial this year to consider is, we are not going to be reducing Rhode Islanders' access to legal marijuana if there is no bill passed this year. They will be able to get it in Massachusetts. All we'll be doing is reducing our access as a state to revenue that we could use for important things, for public health and safety, for reducing opioid use. And we'll be reducing the economic opportunities that we afford our citizens. You heard earlier someone testify that we could create 3,000 jobs. If we don't do that, we're just going to keep more Rhode Islanders out of work. So we're not protecting them because they're going to have access to legal marijuana. All we're doing is limiting their opportunities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jared. Any questions? Mr. Moffett. Thank you very much, Jared, for all your hard work on this issue.